right. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome to TechGlamLIVE. I am Joe Mejica.
I'm Doreen Pepers, and this is Vader, our special guest.
Excellent. Darth Vader, Doreen, thank you for joining. And today we have a great show lined up. Today we have our special guest, AppD extraordinaire, John George.
So everybody, I'm super excited that we're going to be talking about AppDynamics today. So AppDynamics is different from other tools. Unlike other APMs that simply tell you when something is wrong, AppD actually correlates data and sends alerts to help you proactively address the underlying cause of your potential performance degradation before it affects your customer experience and in turn affects your bottom line. I have customers that have deployed AppD in their environments, and they have all told me that their mean time to detection has actually decreased to less than 10 minutes. With AppD, you can pinpoint root cause and application problems in real time, from third-party APIs down to code-level issues. Plus, we're going to be giving away some great Cisco swag by the way of a final duo. The duo will pit you against a final foe to put your skills to the test. Hey, Joe, can you tell everybody about the Full Stack Trilogy?
Yeah, hey, Doreen, no problem. So the Full Stack Trilogy is TechGlamLIVE's three-part webinar series where we highlight Cisco's full stack observability solutions. Starting a few months back, we started our journey with Thousand Eyes. And during that journey, we've learned what's really going on between our endpoints, our apps, our services, and infrastructure. Afterwards, we answered a call to multiple IT teams where they were complaining about exponentially growing costs in running their infrastructure, both on-prem and in the cloud. That's when we harnessed the power of Intersight Workload Optimizer, where we help these teams not only utilize their resources in a much more efficient manner, but hey, they got to save some money in the process. And today, we enter the finale with AppDynamics. Today, we'll get to learn how to dig even deeper in your customers' most critical and most essential applications. And so to that, we turn to John, who will help us lead us into this conversation.
Awesome. Glad to be on this call here. Doreen, do you have any questions regarding AppDynamics that I can answer?
Yeah, I think Joe and I have a ton of questions because we've been thinking about this. It's like AppD is so cool. So I want to know a little bit about what is AppDynamics. Can you explain that to us?
Sure. Simply put, AppDynamics is an application monitoring solution that monitors your entire application stack end to end, and it alerts you when something goes wrong. Now, this is what all APM solutions do, right? But we are much more than that. Now, traditionally, an APM solution was just another weapon in the dev team's arsenal, right? But AppDynamics turned that notion upside down. It brought a unique perspective to application monitoring. Every team, right, be it the development team, the operations team, the infrastructure team, the security team, or even the business operations team, they must get relevant application perspective to effectively understand the impact of issues that they are battling every day. And that's where AppD comes in and gives that application perspective over all the other metrics or solutions or tools that these teams are using to effectively understand the impact of application slowdown and also be proactive.
There's two words that came to mind that kind of struck my attention. Application perspective, what do you mean by that? Could you elaborate on that?
Sure, Joe. Consider an example of a data center team or a network team, right? Traditionally, when the application goes down, these are the teams that first get blamed for it. And usually it takes a long time for them or almost difficult for them to prove their innocence right away. So people get into a war room. It's almost like passing the hot potato, right? You're passing the blame across the teams and no one knows where the issues are. But what AppDynamics does is it builds that gap between the application teams and the non-application teams by giving that application layer over all the infrastructure metrics or the network metrics or the business metrics that these teams collect. So you can see how the collaboration will improve having this one screen that all these teams can look into. And also they will be able to prove their innocence faster. And if, let's say there's a network issue, let's say there's an infrastructure issue, in which case they will be able to understand what the application impact is. So having that same solution across the board, same set of screens that different teams can view from their perspective greatly reduces the back and forth and the frustration that comes with collaboration.
Wow, that's awesome. So I have another question for you. Why would an organization actually need application monitoring?
That's a very good question, Doreen. So one of our customers from the banking vertical recently mentioned that their busiest branch today is the 8 a.m. local to the downtown station. And this is across the board. A lot of our customers are kind of echoing this sentiment now. Application used to be an add-on service, which is not, it's not that anymore. It's the core business driving factor for a lot of our customers. So the end users for these applications always demand, the best experience that they can get. They're used to looking at Facebook, they're used to looking at Twitter, and kind of compare that experience with the applications that we provide. So it's very, the teams are required to be more proactive nowadays. They have to understand and get to the root cause before the end users actually get impacted. Now, on the other side, on the side of these teams, the application teams, the dev teams, the infrastructure teams, the application architecture is not getting any simpler, right? With modularization, with containerization, with having hybrid cloud setups, the application landscape is getting more difficult day by day. So what AppDynamics does is it goes in, understands the application and takes away that monitoring burden from these application teams. So now they can focus on what matters to them the most, right? Is to provide the best sort of experience, best sort of features to their customers while taking away that monitoring burden.
Awesome. So I know we've been on a 2-month, 3-month journey with FSO, and we met some really awesome droids along the way. So are you telling me I'm going to also get an awesome AppDynamics droid to help watch my applications?
Absolutely. And so you can spend your time defeating the empire while you will be alerted only when there is a need. And so you can focus on defeating the empire there.
All right, so all that makes a lot of sense. John, I want to know, how is AppDynamics different from any other monitoring tool out there?
During there are two big differentiators for AppDynamics, right? One is the philosophy that I mentioned earlier. We take that application perspective, we go application first, and also give you that business perspective. The second one is we are part of the big Cisco portfolio, right? Cisco investing in the full observability, full stack observability gives us that extra push to innovate more, and the continued investment that Cisco does on AppD to bring that experience together, be it interact with Intersight, be it interacting with Thousand Eyes, to bring that experience together is key here, right? So these two together puts us above and beyond any sort of APM tool that is available in the market today. Let me get back to the point about the philosophy here, right? So at AppD, what we believe is your applications are written to drive business, right? So it's very critical that you understand what impact the application is having on your business, and this could be for issue resolution, or this could be for enhancing features. So what AppD does is it takes a step back and says that these applications are written to drive business. So let me understand the business performance too. So within AppD, we build the solution in such a way that you can create business metrics that gets the same first-class citizen preference like any other application or infrastructure metrics. And what that does is you can be alerted on things like number of orders coming in. Right now, that's a purely business metric, but you can monitor it from the application side, get that information out, and be alerted on that. And this could be the marketing teams, this could be the sales teams. They can be alerted on that. And that's essentially what AppDynamics is trying to solve there: bringing your business performance, bringing your application performance, and bringing your underlying infrastructure performance all in the same way.
Awesome. So I think that all makes sense, John. But I do have one key question that I have here. So before we started this session, we had a giant full stack sign pop up into the galaxy and making it clear that Cisco is really focused on full stack observability. But I know in the past couple months, we talked about IWO, we talked about Thousand Eyes. So how does this all truly get put together to create that whole holistic story? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So Intersight or IWO is an application performance assurance tool from an infrastructure perspective. whereas Thousand Eyes is an application availability monitoring solution from a networking standpoint. Now, what's the common link between these two definitions?
I want to say Cisco because there are products, but
You wouldn't be wrong there.
I'm guessing, is application the right answer? Am I right, Sean?
Exactly, right? So eventually, I mean, all these infrastructure, the network, everything is set up to drive application, right? So what AppDynamics does is it comes on top of these two solutions that you just mentioned, Intersight and Thousand Eyes, and gives it that application layer. And so it kind of elevates the metrics that you're already getting from these tools to give you that insight into application performance, business performance. So when there's a network issue, you understand what the application impact is. And so that's the collaboration that we are trying to get in, that singular view, that whole holistic view that we are trying to build with FSO.
So this really sounds great. What I want to see is AppD in action. Do you think you can put a demo on for us?
Will do. Yeah, I have something ready for you, Doreen. Let me pull up my.
Let's do this. I want to see this in action. Let's see what it can do.
Awesome. So before I show you the AppDynamics controller, I just wanted to quickly go over how this is all set up. How is AppDynamics set up? And this is our product architecture, just to help you understand how easy it is to set up AppDynamics. We are an agent-based solution. So what does it mean? What does it mean to be an agent-based solution? We have agents, application agents that sit either within your application or very close to your application, monitoring all that response times, loads, interaction between different tiers and nodes, and collect that information. We have machine or server agents that sit on the underlying infrastructure to gather metrics from the underlying operating system and the infrastructure. We have network agents similar to the infrastructure agent that gathers metrics from the network side from an application perspective again. And we also, at the end, we have database agents monitoring your backend databases to see how that's performing and if there are any bottlenecks there. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the end user experience agents that basically capture end user experience, be it on the browser, be it on their cell phones, mobile apps, and give you that visibility. So when you tie all of that together, you draw a line across those 4 or 5 blocks that you see there. That's end-to-end visibility for you right there. So once you have everything instrumented, you know how the end user experience is. Along that line, you can see what is actually impacting that experience. Now, all that metrics gets collected and reports back to what we call the AppDynamics controller. That's essentially where the data gets crunched. That's where machine learning models are applied to some of these metrics. It's dynamically baselined, and you get to create your own screens. Remember how I was mentioning that this is one tool that can perceive in a different way by different teams. That's where dashboards come into picture. You can create a dashboard very infrastructure specific with some application context. You can create an application dashboard with some infrastructure context. So that's where all the magic happens. So let me go to the controller that I was talking about. Now imagine an application, right? An e-commerce application. We all have used one, and we know what happens if the experience is bad. We switch and go to a different provider, right? That's eBay doesn't work, we go to Amazon. Amazon doesn't work, we go to Walmart maybe. But that's the flow that we usually have. But once you have AppDynamics instrumented all your applications within your environment, it automatically draws out this application flow map that you see here. So within an e-commerce applications, what are the different nodes, right? You can have the account node, the order processing node, the web services node, and AppDynamics will automatically understand that and draw this graph out for you. Now, traditionally, the flow map that you see here was maintained by developers, and it's not uncommon that those diagrams go stale. So someone adds a new feature, adds a new node, nobody notices it, or they forget to update that visual diagram, and it's already stale. So when something happens, you pull that visual diagram up, you're already missing a node there. AppDynamics solves that for you, gives you this 10,000 foot level systems view, so you understand the different components within that application. Now, this is all good, gives you a good systems level view, how the servers are working, performing, what are the interactions between these different nodes that you see here. But to actually get to the root cause of an issue, you need to go a little deeper, right? And that's where the AppDynamics concept of business transactions come into picture. Now, what are business transactions? Business transactions are the verbs that are performed on this application. So if it's an e-commerce application, you'll have a login transaction, you'll have a checkout transaction, you'll have an add to cart transaction. So all that AppDynamics will automatically understand based on the incoming calls, and then bubble that up for you so you can focus on what's important for the business there. Now, in this case, I can already see that there is some issue with the checkout transaction. Now, checkout transaction is the money-making transaction for the company, right? If end users are unable to check out, I'm losing money every second. So let's go in and figure out why the checkout transaction is slow or very slow. So right away, as I get into the checkout transaction, I'm put into a smaller flow map. So very similar to the application flow map, but this has just the components required to complete the checkout transaction. So you can see the different databases it talks to, different web services it talks to, if you have message queues, the different message queues it talks to. But I would like to take your focus towards this dotted line here. And this is very, something that separates us from other APM providers out there. We dynamically baseline every metric that we collect. And now, why is that important? For an e-commerce application, a Sunday night may be a slow evening, right? I mean, you won't see a lot of checkout transaction coming in compared to a Wednesday afternoon when it's really busy. Your systems are taxed to the maximum, and so the response times are a little slow there. So what AppDynamics does is it understands what's normal for your system given the time of the day of the week, week of the month, and month of the year. And why is that important? You don't want to build your baselines based on a Sunday load or on a Wednesday load. All that will, what that will do is it will either give you a lot of alert storms or it will, give you a lot of false positives. So you want to avoid that. So what AppDynamics does is it builds that dynamic baseline for you for every metric that it collects based on historical data, and make sure that you only get the alerts that are extremely relevant, right? And you only get alerted when things are actually wrong or actually slow. And it applies to every metric, not just the metric that AppDynamics collects, but if you create custom metric, it applies to that too. And that separates us from all the other APM vendors, because most of the APM vendors only baseline 3 or 4 very critical metrics. The other metrics are just for visualization purposes, but we baseline every metric that we see. And based on that metrics and those metrics, we're able to bucket individual instances of the checkout transaction into these buckets that you see here. So it could be slow, very slow, stalled, or errors. Let's go into the very slow bucket to see what's causing that bottleneck that we saw. So right away, I can see that there were a very few transactions that are taking 45 seconds, 25 seconds, which is pretty bad when you're thinking about end user experience. 25 seconds waiting to actually do a checkout, it's pretty bad experience. So let's figure out where the bottleneck is. So I'm now put into, so I went from a 10,000 foot level view, the application flow map, to a 5,000 foot level view of the business transaction flow map. And now I'm at a very specific instance of that business transaction, almost like the Google Street View. I'm looking at a very specific instance. And on the left side, I can see the potential issues that AppDynamics already bubbled up for you. So you can look at those calls and know where your slow transactions are or slow calls are. Or I can drill down to look at deep code analysis that AppDynamics did. So AppDynamics gives you line by line, code by code response times and shows you the flow that this specific transaction took. I can see that there was this one call that took about 16 seconds to execute. And inside that, I can see 2 create order transactions, each took about 8 seconds. Now, if you put all of that together, it's turning out to be a pretty bad experience for the end user. Now, let me drill down into one of these calls, which took about 8 seconds. And right away, I can see that there was a JDBC call, and you can also see the actual query that was executed that took about 8.2 seconds to execute. So no more trying to recreate issues, no more trying to go through logs to figure out where these errors are. With few clicks, 3 or 4 clicks, I'm able to go into production data and figure out where my bottlenecks are. And I can set alerts on this. So I don't have to wait for a call from a customer or an email from a support engineer to figure out if there was an issue. I'm proactively alerted and also quickly shown where the root cause of this issue is. The last thing I want to mention within the application map that you see here are these 2 tabs. So server tab. So remember I mentioned how the collaboration between dev teams and non-dev teams tend to get a little frustrating. Here with AppDynamics, I'm able to pull up a specific snapshot and also how the server and the network was performing at that specific instance. So now I don't have to go back to the networking team or the infrastructure team to figure out if there was a network issue, if there was an infrastructure issue. I myself, being a DevOps engineer or a dev engineer, was able to, with few clicks, figure out if this was an application or an infrastructure issue. So greatly reducing the number of war rooms that you have. No games of hot potato anymore. You know where the issue is. You can focus now and fix it as soon as possible. And the last thing here is, along with the application view that you get, along with the infrastructure view, you can also collect data within your application. So for example, you want to see if this is an application-based issue or a data-based issue. You can get input and output data from all your methods within your application to get that data with flow visibility. Again, the point here is to tie all of this visibility together into one screen, so you're not bothering multiple different teams or getting into war rooms to discuss where this issue is or cast blames on different teams. That's it from the application monitoring side. Let me quickly show you the other end of the spectrum, like I mentioned, the end user experience. Now we know the application side of things. We understand where the bottlenecks are. We are able to figure that out. But what about the end user experience side? So on the end user experience, I'm able to, AppDynamics, as you install an agent, you're able to get the some of these widgets automatically populated, which shows you the number of calls coming in, where are these customers based off, what kind of browsers they are using, what are my top pages that are being accessed, if there are any errors, what devices are they using to access these pages. Very high level information about your end users. So when you're writing features, and if you want to target specific kind of users, you can use this information to do that. Along with that, you can go deeper, and it will also give you all the different sessions that your end users had with your application. So as this pulls up, you can see the different sessions that your end users are having. You can go into a specific session and look at the page flows. And along with that, you can look at what resources took the longest time to load. If there were any JavaScript errors, it will give you all that information. And along with that, it is also connecting it to the backend application, right? So you're able to see if the bottleneck is on the front-end side or on the backend side. There are a lot of tools out there that will give you that front-end information, but they lack that backend visibility. AppDynamics ties all of that together to give you that backend visibility also. So that's it from the end user experience side. And before we move on, a quick look at some of the dashboard capabilities within AppDynamics. And this is one such dashboard, right, where you see a lot of widgets here, but it also says a lot about the possibilities within AppDynamics. If you look at this specific call here, or rather this specific call here, total payments, right? This is not an application metric. This is a business metric. And again, like I mentioned, you're able to get application metric, but you are also able to correlate that with business performance. So you can see the business metric of total payments here. You are also able to see from an application perspective that specific business transaction. And also, and this is where the interaction with Thousand Eyes comes into picture. If there is a network issue, you are able to see that here. So in this specific widget here, so you can, on this one screen, you get application visibility, you get infrastructure visibility, you get business visibility, and you get network visibility. And the last dashboard that I want to quickly show here is, I know there are a lot of customers that are trying to move to different areas within their applications, trying to either move to cloud or trying to modernize their application. So they want that visibility between how the old applications were performing compared to when they made these changes, how these new applications are performing, right? So AppDynamics is able to give you that level of visibility too, where you can look at how the application was performing before you made that made a change, and then you can see how it's performing after that. And you're also able to create these conversion funnels where you can see how that actually impacted your business. Again, some of the possibilities with the dashboarding capabilities that AppDynamics has. And if you have any questions, please hold on to it. I think we have a Q&A session right after this, and I'll be happy to take any of those questions during that session. So Doreen, off to you now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a great demo. Learned a lot from that. What do you think, Joe? Wasn't that a good one?
Hey, man, I think you answered not only a lot of my questions, but I'm sure you're saving. So actually, before this call, I was telling John he's a lifesaver, right? Because I think all of us can truly understand like the importance of our applications, right? Like you mentioned Amazon, like if there's any degradation, like we need to solve those things, right? And of course, as these applications can continue to grow, be more complex, that's where we can come in, right? And really start solving these problems and save everyone's lives, because we like saving lives, right? Which leads me into our next conversation. In addition to saving lives, we like to give away free stuff. Is that right, Doreen?
We love to give away free stuff. You guys are going to be super excited to hear about these giveaways.
All right.
But you have to prove yourself. We're not just going to do it for free.
That's a good point. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So we're going to actually have a final duel. And in the beginning of this call, we were mentioning you're doing a final duel against your greatest foe. And that greatest foe is you, because they said, the greatest enemy is yourself, right? And of course, you'll be going against your respective members of the audience. Basically, we'll be doing another trivia game centered around AppDynamics. So if you've been paying attention and learning that everything that John has talked about in the demo and during the interview process, you might be able to succeed. So the prizes we will be giving away, prizes Cisco related and AppD related. So we'll be giving away to the top winners of the trivia game. And to help with logistics, we're going to be using our new Slido platform. So if you're not familiar with Slido, it's kind of like if you've ever been using Kahoot in the past, this is Cisco's version of it. We'll be using that to go through the trivia questions. You're going to be ranked on accuracy, speed, etc. And what we'll ask you to do is when you enter Slido, we're going to ask for you to enter your email, and we'll use that email to help coordinate prize delivery. So if you're one of our few lucky winners, we will definitely reach out and get these prizes sent out to you. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and launch the game. And all you will really need is your mobile device or open up another tab. So let me go ahead and get that squared away. Question number 1, AppDynamics solves use cases for this team.
Yeah, I've stressed this point at least 3 times during the demo. It's collaboration, right? We're making it easy to collaborate.
All right, 14% developers and operations team. 86% said all of the above. Let's see what the correct answer is. All of the above. So got business operations team, infrastructure networks team. Yeah, so like you said, John, you definitely want to start breaking some of those silos between the infrastructure and all the business IQ related activity.
Exactly.
Sweet. AppDynamics is, we got a spread. So agent-based, 71%, 14% said application build artifact-based, 14% all of the above. I don't know about y'all, but every time I see all of the above, I always assume it's the right answer. But then again, the SATs told me otherwise. So let's see what the correct answer is. Agent-based. John, can you explain the differences between these?
Sure. So agent-based allows us to be very tightly integrated with the application itself, right? And that helps us pull out some of these business metrics that I was talking about, like number of orders, right? We know that data is being passed around within the application, but without being agent-based and without being tightly integrated with the application, we won't be able to get that information. But that also solves another issue, problem with other APM tools out there. You don't have to, in most cases, you don't have to make any code changes to have AppD installed on your system, right? Without any code changes, just installing the agent on the same box as the application itself, you should be able to get the required visibility there. So agent-based is what we chose, and because of these reasons that I just mentioned.
Excellent. Thanks, John. AppDynamics requires code changes in most cases. True or false?
Probably gave away that answer, but
it's fine.
Yeah, it's good to reinforce that because a lot of times that's the most common question I get.
Actually, more of a technical question. Now we're talking about code changes. So is AppDynamics, I guess, language agnostic? Like, is it only supported on Java, Python? Just out of curiosity.
So we have different agents for different languages, right? Because the agent itself has to understand that language very well. It's architected in such a way that it understands a lot of frameworks that language supports. So we have Java agents, we have .NET agents, and so we have agents for almost all of the the new in application languages. But again, the idea here is to get you up and running and get that visibility as quickly as possible, right? And so that's why we architected it that way. We're able to plug into CLRs, we're able to plug into JVMs, so we can see things without making code changes.
Excellent. Thanks, John. So AppDynamics can successfully monitor these platforms.
And this is something I have not covered in the demo. Usually people assume AppDynamics to be for custom applications, but there are some non-custom, out-of-the-box, off-the-shelf applications that we completely support. So let this be a little hard, but yeah.
All right, it's all the above.
Yeah, UCC, the newer versions of UCC actually has AppDynamics built in, so you don't need to do any install. You just need the licenses, and that will give you the necessary visibility. We have ABAP agents for SAP and Java agents together can give you a lot of visibility into not just the application side, but also on the business side for SAP. Again, Microsoft Dynamics, same thing. We completely support it. And we have had a lot of customers who use that to take the reason we support these is so when something happens, you have the right ammunition to take back to the vendor, and so you don't have to go through logs and go back and forth four different times, collecting different set of logs times. So this will give you the required ammunition to go back to these vendor tools and show them the exact problem area.
Got it. So when in doubt, if we want to know if AppDynamics can support, we should just give you a call, right, John?
Absolutely. Happy to hop on a call and guide you through that process.
All right, beautiful. Question 5, which feature can AppDynamics adds to the Cisco's wider SecureX initiative?
Again, something that I did not cover during the demo. I'll be happy to hop on a call and cover some of the wider features that AppDynamics offers. But let's see if you can guess this correctly, and then I can follow up with more information on that.
All right, 71% says SecureApp, AppSec, which was literally SecureApp backwards, cutting out some of the URE at the end, and App Firewall. So it's a pretty good spread. So John, I think we might need your expertise and explain this a little deeper.
Absolutely. So SecureApp is something that we launched early this year. So what we thought was, since we are already in the application, monitoring the application inside out, why don't we also monitor if the application has any open vulnerabilities within it? Right. A lot of times we have seen customers ask us if we are able to provide any sort of visibility against threats and vulnerabilities. So this is the answer to that. So SecureApp, the agent itself, you don't have to make any changes. It's already built in with the agent. You just have to get the appropriate licenses, and then AppDynamics will automatically monitor the application in production for vulnerabilities and also live threats that are occurring. And it also takes it one step further. So since we are in the application, we are able to switch off parts of the application, right? So when a vulnerability is exposed, you can actually use AppDynamics to switch off that part of the application. So you don't have to pull down the entire application. Sorry, and then you can work on a fix, put the fix in without taking down the entire application. But that's SecureApp.
Awesome. Oh, this sounds familiar. So the application flow map shows blank. Honestly, there was a lot of really good dashboards, but I know the application flow map specifically highlighted something.
Yeah, and this is the first landing page that I showed when you got into the control room.
All right, 100% says all the compose. Yep, spot on.
And this is the strength of that screen there, right? Usually it's difficult to visualize your application across different cloud environments, across on-premise, across data centers. AppDynamics puts that all on one screen. So you can take that complexity of where it's hosted, who's managing it, all that out of the picture, and look at it from an architecture standpoint and understand the different systems involved. So very powerful screen. I wish I had this when I was a developer. It would have saved a lot of time.
And not a lot of saves time from all the branches and all the git pulls that you would have to do. Jeez.
Yeah, and then going to different teams to understand what their part of the application looked like, right?
Right.
I don't have to do that anymore.
Oh yeah, AppDynamics dynamic baselining feature does what?
And this is, again, something very unique to AppDynamics. Some of the other APM vendors have now started utilizing it, but not as in-depth as AppDynamics has it, because we had it all the time. This was one of our initial starting principles.
Wow, look at that, 50-50.
50-50 there. And I can understand the confusion there because you would assume that the dynamic baselining will help you create baselines, but it's actually already created. The baselines are already created. You don't have to create it, and that's another plus when it comes to bringing up AppDynamics and setting it up. A lot of these baselines and business transactions and application flow maps are automatically understood by AppDynamics. Now it also gives you the ability to go in and change it if you don't like what AppDynamics said. But we usually encourage customers to keep the baselines, the dynamic baseline, so you can understand that seasonal changes on your application. But yeah, it automatically understands what's normal behavior for you for that time period. And that's what dynamic baselining is.
Awesome. I'm actually curious to see what baselining looks like around Black Friday when it comes to e-commerce apps. That would be kind of interesting.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is one use case that a lot of our customers use, especially in the retail space. They look at Black Friday, how it was last year, check out what where the bottlenecks were, where the experience, where it lagged in experience, and then take that and make it better for the next Black Friday, and then they can compare and contrast these baselines and see if it actually improved their product.
Awesome. So maybe I gotta sync up with you around that time, over Thanksgiving dinner and see how this thing turns out.
Absolutely.
AppDynamics creates a dynamic baseline for what?
And I think I stressed on it during the demo. But again, this is one of our big differentiators when you compare it with other APM products.
That's a pretty good spread. So I'm actually curious. All metrics without exceptions.
Yep, all metrics without exceptions. And again, I understand the confusion again here because a lot of times when you look into APM products, very few metrics are actually baseline because they think that those are the only metrics that you can be alerted on. But AppDynamics does it for every metric that we gather, even for business metrics. So for example, the example I gave regarding orders coming in, that could be a metric, and you can we'll automatically baseline it for you so you can set alerts on it. So your marketing team can get alerted on a Black Friday if the sales are falling.
Excellent.
And I'll be happy to, please reach out to Joe or Doreen or me if you have any questions. Once you take it back, once you chew on it, if there are any questions that you feel like need to be answered, we'll be happy to take any questions offline. Please feel free to email us or get in touch with us. We'll be happy to walk you through that.
Yeah, and if you want to see how this actually makes sense in your environment, please give us a call. We'll be more than happy to demo it and talk to you about it there too.
Excellent. So I think that leads us to our conclusion of the show. So obviously, I think FSO, full stack observability, is an excellent topic, especially with Cisco. Our bread and butter has been in infrastructure, and then now we're moving our focus to software. So of course we're going to have multiple events down the line that may be talking about FSO, Cisco in general. But I may have a couple of my friends that missed our session today. So Doreen, how can my friends, everyone else's friends, their friends' friends, view today's session and all the previous sessions that we're going to be presenting?
That's a really good question, Joe. So today's episode is going to be posted on my YouTube channel called TechGlam TV. There you're going to find episodes of TechGlam Live and also other videos that I created that are related to Cisco. And if you missed any of the previous episodes, such as Thousand Eyes or Intersite Workload Optimizer, it's going to be posted on TechGlam TV real soon. So the best way to find out when they're there is to subscribe to the channel, and then you'll get notifications when those videos are uploaded and ready to go. So there you have it, TechGlam TV. So it looks like we've reached the end of our show.
Yes, and lastly, we want to thank John. John, thank you so much for an excellent demo and walking through us the questions. We really hope to see you again in a future installment, and hopefully you get to talk to one of our wonderful customers very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. You were so awesome today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doreen and Joe, for organizing this. And I'm looking forward to, linking with some of our customers and taking them into like a deep dive of what AppDynamics is and how we can solve their problems.
Sounds good. Well, I think with that said, I think we can conclude here. So last but not least, I'm Joe Mejica. I'm one of your co-hosts for TechGlam Live.
And I'm Doreen. Have a fabulous day. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.